Hi, welcome to Jade Gaming. I'm Adam. Today I'm going to do a flip through and review of a book, Pure Steam campaign setting for Pathfinder, that I kickstarted. I was part of the Kickstarter, which finished funding just under 2 years ago, and I got the book in a few days back. I figured, I'd sit down, read, a lot of them, especially like Pathfinder, is not the current game I'm playing. I skim through them, get an idea, and I do a flip through and review. But it arrived in plastic, and to show how weird I've gotten, I was like, well, I can't pass up the opportunity to take off plastic in front of a camera. So I'm gonna take off the plastic. I'm gonna, then stop the video, go read it for whatever hour, whatever it takes. Look through it, and then I'll come back and do the flip through review of the Pure Steam campaign setting for Pathfinder. What's plastic being removed? Aren't I weird? Just to get a quick glance and smell the ink. Be right back. And I'm back. Wow. I get it. It took them 2 years to get the rewards out. I'm not saying it's gonna put me. It probably won't put me back into Pathfinder. I'm very much been in the GURPS mood, and I'm loving that. But someday down the road, I may end up doing a steampunk western kind of GURPS theme. That I may just pull ideas from it. I'll do a flip through portion here, review it. A couple times we get these kind of pages here, which I always love these, where they just feel. Is it in focus? I can't tell. They feel like, it's a written note. And I will point out, the book is just about in color. Technically, that's a little bit in the blue in there, and we got, of course, these yellows and orange. So it's technically color, but all the interior art is line art, black and white. It's good quality, but still. They begin with the races section, and in the races section here, we have they go over each race and have one or more like sub-races or whatever, race types, like they go to halflings, and they have two. They have the Leatherfoot halflings, which are these sort of hillbillies, and then they'll have their alternate racial traits that can replace them. Like country folk, Leatherfoot halflings are suited to life on the countryside, be it the mountains, hills, forests, or swamps. And then they get their survival check instead of whatever the keen sense, etc. Tenderfoot are, would be the proper, the not hillbilly kind of halflings. We have a separate, we have a type of humans, Yularian human. Yularia is, or whatever, that would be the people from this area. And then we got orcs. And they give like a full breakdown for the orcs, since those weren't a base race. So you got your races, you go into the classes, and this class section sort of begins with going over each of the class, and then essentially the role they play in this world. And we get to new base classes. There's two. There's the chaplain, which is like the guy, he's the socialite, he's the speaker, he talks. He uses his words to, but essentially he has, he has spells, he has, he has essentially whatever his gravitas. He can use his words to hurt or to heal. Literally. They can give special abilities to it. and then they can follow different organizations that'll change ultimately some of their abilities, some of their bonus spells, class skills, etc. And then we have the Gearhead, and they are ultimately a wizard that is technology. They have contraptions instead of spells. They build things. They have, their contraptions per day. They have their contraption book, or whatever it's called, schematic book or whatever. And they have, instead of spells, they have schematics, and they'll go over that in the science chapter later. And they can specialize too, etc. Then we get the archetypes, which are different archetypes of classes. Like the alchemist has the moonshiner, and the fumigant, the civil bedlamite for the barbarian. That was funny. Bard has gypsy. There's a couple for fighter. For monk. The rogue, one of the ones on the rogue is the grease rat. He is like jury rig and is a master mechanic. Then we get our feats. Some of the feats are calibration feats, which are for people that build contraptions. Then equipment. Oh, I love the equipment section. First off, this using this full page for this art, I love it. It's their money. They go in here at the beginning. That instead of gold, it's essentially 1 gold is equivalent to $1. You got your 10 cents equivalent, and it essentially as the silver, and your penny as being equivalent to your copper. So that way, from Pathfinder, you can do all your easy conversions, but it really changes the flavor. They have, some new weapons, including, of course, firearms. They have, their images for weapons, their armors, some contraptions, and gear, goods and services lists, and there's some of these that I really liked. Like they have roller skates, where they have rules for roller skates. That was fun. And then they have services like communication. You can use a telegraph, or there's a telephone. So I mean, it's during that point of the communication. Like ultimately, I think somewhere in here there was they go over some items from Pathfinder that would be cheaper because they're no longer technologically advanced. They're now old technology. They got entertainment, kinescope, music box, Nickelodeon, roller coaster. All those kind of, it just has that feel from that type. The dime novels. It has such a great setting. Great feeling for the age. Alright, science. The science chapter. There are different fields of science, which would be what the specialties would be, and contraptions. And they have constructing a contraption. Your contraption is the gearheads instead of spells. Essentially, you determine what level it's going to be based on, because it's like a spell. It falls into a spell level. You choose a target schematic, one or more effect schematics, and then the remaining statistics. So essentially, there's this little chart to figure out what level what you can get from that. You have your target schematics, which are these, whether it's personal, cone, etc., and then you have your effect schematics for what it ultimately does, whether it's acid burn, accelerate, chemical burn, detect constructs, reveal hidden, etc. They have all... Essentially, you're building a spell. Then you get to technology, and technology is instead of magic items, or rather, alongside magic items. There are magic items in the setting, and there's technological items. And ultimately, they do go over the rules. Hey, set up, if you want to have a magic item from Pathfinder, just change the flavor to make it a technological item. And they go over stuff, and they have some images for some of them. Jumping boots, spring-loaded boots. And they go over technological item creation as opposed to magic item creation. Vehicles were fun. The gyrocopter, gyrocycle. They got the steam harvester, steam tank, steam wagon, and of course the war zeppelin. Which is, so they have those. And then we got Yolera. And here's one of the things to note about this setting. And that it is ultimately based on the United States. It's North America. Yolera is America. You don't believe me? We have the basic timeline and the map of Northern Yolera. And essentially, this book specifically, they go a little bit into the disputed lands, but mostly it is based on the Federated States of Yolera. And that's that part of America. I got a couple of more of these things where it looks like handwritten. They go over some, they call it lexicon, words, just things like, things that people might use. The FSU just being the Federated States of Yolera, common term. The folk is a colloquial racial term used to refer to gnomes of their shared heritage. The trail is a common colloquial term used concerning the famed abolition trail that's running through whatever those places are. They have, because people do, that societies do that, and they have this Federated States of Yolera, and they have the map with their larger locations and all these, and essentially over the following pages they go into those areas with some NPCs, some stories and information about them. But yeah, they really flesh out the setting and have a bunch of different areas, different locations. And then they have this little section for Beyond Yolera, and then they go into the Disputed Lands. And they have a few pages here, points of interest that are Beyond Yolera. They have the factions. We have a few pages of factions that are in there. The wildlife identification and land development. Then we get monsters. Some of these monsters are just monsters. Caterwallfish, Cadaver cactus, true razorback. Then we get reanimated corpse, which is like an alternate to a zombie. And they have some rules here over a couple pages for creating that. And the wondrous armatures, which you get here from this picture, what that kind of is. It's like the steampunk kind of mech guy almost. And they give a sample one, and then we get rules for creating one. So you can create that. That would be a great kind of campaign monster. But ultimately, the rules for these are much like the Summoner's, Alderon or whatever it is. The Summoner's special summon. It has very similar. It has a field of rules similar to that. Then we get an introductory. We get an adventure, pre-made adventure, Trouble in Grassy Spur. It's I think 2 parts. You get your maps. Act 1, Caught in the Briar Patch. Love that. Just again, great feel. And I love Uncle Remus tales. Brer Rabbit and Brer Bear. And so just when I read that, Caught in the Briar Patch, I was like, yes. And then Act 2 goes about a train. I think it's like a train robbery, train bomb, something. But I don't use much in the way of pre-made adventures, but it's fun. They give rules for carrying on after the pre-made adventure. Of course, they thank the Kickstarter backers, myself included. Open game license. And back book has the steampunk dragon. So that is Pure Steam by I think on Kickstarter it was like Bomir Punk, but the guy is Adam Crockett. But yeah, I was impressed. it took them really almost, I mean, it took them like a year and a half to get it finished, and then another almost half year before they actually got it, like everything sorted out with the printers. But they did good. I was quite pleased with that. Even as ultimately at the time I ordered it, Pathfinder was my system. I'm now on GURPS, but it's got some fun information. I may run it as Pathfinder at some point. I don't know. I'm sure I'll get back into other systems eventually, but or I may end up just using it just as far as it's a great setting. It has a great feel for that sort of, because it's not really a time in history even. I mean, it's America, and it has that Old West, or rather East, I guess, because I mean it's sort of that just before expanding out west kind of feel. But some of that's there, and some of the hill folk, and it's a fun, it reads real fun. It looks like they went a lot into the idea of the world. It feels, there's a couple points in it where they mention like some of their own house rules as an optional rule, or they mention rules that are given in Pathfinder, and it just mentions where they are and says you may want to use this rule. It feels like it was like someone's long-lived campaign setting that they did, and they just decided, you know what, let's take it all the way and make it where we can share it with everyone, and they did a great job at presenting it. So that's Pure Steam. I believe I can find it somewhere online, at least the PDF. I'm not sure, I haven't looked yet. But so I'll find out where you can get it if you're interested. So check it out at Amiga's Kickstarter, and I'm starting to see some of the Kickstarter products even in my local gaming store. So you could still, it may end up being in yours. It was really exciting the first time I'm walking through, and I'm like, I backed that book on Kickstarter walking through my my local gaming store. So still check it out there. I mean, a lot of times with those, I feel like online is where you find them, but we're getting past that. Kickstarter's getting up there. So, Pure Steam campaign setting for Pathfinder. It's Pathfinder compatible. Pathfinder Roleplaying Game compatible. Yeah. Check it out. Have a great day.